Well, hello, good morning, and welcome to the very first working day of 2019. I bet you're not looking forward to the traffic and all of those emails that have piled up while you were eating turkey. But you know what? You've got this. You're in control. You know exactly how to handle it. And all of this work, well, that's what you've been doing all your life. So don't panic. Just get straight back into it, the productive self that you are. But look, it's wonderful to start another day with you. And boy, what a day. The AM show is packed. We've got so much coming your way, so much to talk about. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we've got in store for you in just a moment. But of course, the usuals will happen. We'll have the news. Mapito Sabidi joins us this morning with all the headlines from around the world. And then we'll do the newspaper review. Norvan Aqua-Hayford from the Joy Business team joins me so we can split open the first editions of this year's newspapers and get to grips with some of the big headlines. And then, of course, it's Wednesday, so we'll have AM Biz. Fascinating stuff coming your way. Now, today, Maxwell Agbagba is going to be at the DVLA because you're likely to have noticed that in the run-up to Christmas, there were lots of unregistered vehicles in town because people were waiting, holding on, so they can get that 2019 number plates. That rush begins today. Maxwell will be right there in the midst of it. He'll also speak to some vehicle owners who will be paying the luxury vehicle levy for the very first time. Ooh, scary thought. Now, also today we continue our series on preparing you for the task ahead this year. Today we'll have a conversation on building and maintaining healthy relationships with emphasis on friendship, courtship, and marriage. There's some apo in here, so make sure you have your pen and paper ready for that guy or girl that you're planning a future with. Here is where perhaps you might learn that one tip or trick that will give you longevity of relationship. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Celebrated counselor Flora Saki will be our guest to delve into that all-important and interesting topic. Now, it's another Wednesday. I told you earlier we'll have AM Business brought to us by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And today we're looking at the expectations of some Ghanaians when it comes to the economy. How do you expect 2019 to go? Easier or tougher than 2018? Are we going to tighten our belts, or are we going to let loose and have a much better year than before? Fingers crossed for option B, huh? But right now, though, it's time for your message from the morning man. Now, I call this one bones. Anyone who has ever lost anything or had a bad day, I think you'll appreciate this. Now, let me ask you, what is the worst injury you've ever seen? Mine was a broken tibia. It was 2008. I was working as an estate developer in England, and I was on a site visit to one of our developments in Northampton. And a team of our workers were trying to unload a rather large electrical generator from a truck. Someone let go at the wrong moment, and this extremely heavy piece of machinery came crashing to the pavement. One corner of it caught a worker on the shin and totally shattered the bone. His leg was twisted at a horrifying angle, and the broken bone was sticking out of the side of his calf. A truly sickening sight, I assure you. Now, luckily, there was a doctor on site who immediately took charge and tried to reset the bone. Now, this involved returning the bone to its original position and rejoining the two severed ends. So we had to dig around on the bloody pavement to find all the little pieces of shattered bone so that he could place them all back in the fracture where they belong, like pieces of a bloody, gory jigsaw puzzle. Now, when the bone was being reset, the electrician screamed like a baby. I mean, I've never observed anyone endure such excruciating pain in my life. He sounded like he was being stabbed. But once the bones were realigned, he was calm once more, breathing evenly. And it was, hard to watch that process. But I also learned a number of amazing things that day. Now, while they were working, the doctor explained how bones worked to us. Now, it was going to take several weeks for this bone to heal, but it would have to be put in a cast to ensure that it doesn't move about while the healing process took place. So if the bone lay in a crooked position or if it moved about, then it would heal and grow in that position, and the poor fellow's leg would be crooked forever. People, just like bones, often break. Under the weight of immense pressure, a person can just lose control and snap. Now, no matter how strong you are, sometimes a hefty blow takes you by surprise and your equilibrium is shattered. You lose a loved one, for example, or you're made redundant at work, or you're diagnosed with a terminal illness, or your business goes bust, or you fail your exams, or your spouse or your partner leaves you. These things can have the same effect on you as that generator had on the poor man's bone, leaving you a shattered, bloody mess. Now, the truth is that when you're broken, the hardest thing in the world is getting back to normal. But it's also a crucial thing that you must do. Step one in any recovery process. You need to reset the clock and return your broken self to the same state and shape that you were in before you got hurt. You need to get back into that job market or into that classroom, get back on the dating scene. Whatever conditions led to your loss, you need to return to them in order to have a fresh start. And that can be painful. But don't worry, once you settle back in, once the bone is reset, you'll feel much calmer. Now, for bones, healing happens in 3 stages. First, you have the inflammation. This starts immediately after the bone is broken. And it lasts for several days. I mean, there's some bleeding into the area leading to inflammation or swelling and clotting of blood at the fracture site, providing the initial structural stability and framework to produce new bone. Stage 2 is bone production, which begins when the clotted blood formed by inflammation is then replaced with this fibrous tissue and cartilage, which will later grow into hard bone. Bone remodeling is the final phase of the healing of your bone. Now, this goes on for several months. The bone continues to form, it becomes compact, it returns to its original shape, and in addition, the blood circulation in the area will get back to normal. Now, once you've healed your bone adequately, weight bearing, like standing or walking, will encourage your bone to remodel into the right shape. Now, look, I told you all of that because the second truth that I want to share with you is that loss and grief, just like a fractured bone, will heal in stages. You've got to give it time. First, it will hurt like hell, but that bleeding is necessary to create the conditions for rebirth. Then, of course, you will go through regeneration, which means you have to start from scratch. Whatever you lost, you have to start from the beginning, and that is where you need to be the most productive. You have been sent back to square one, and you have a lot of catching up to do. You need to get back into the saddle and ride faster than ever to catch up. Finally, remodeling. After you go through rebirth, after you take the lessons that you've learned from your loss, you can now reinvent yourself. You are a new creation, so you can be whoever you want to be. But just as a healing bone needs a cast to ensure it heals straight, you must always create a structure of rules and rigor to ensure that you stay disciplined and stick to your new plan. This is crucial if you want to heal correctly and not turn out crooked. So I guess today's message is quite simple, really. We all take a hit every now and then. We all suffer setbacks and breaks. But each break is an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And as long as we make it through the painful but necessary steps, we will always come out good as new. My name is Kojo Yankson, and it doesn't matter what breaks you or how badly you're shattered. Time and endurance heals all things, and the new you will always be stronger than the old one. Good morning, Ghana.